I know. I was aggravating you.
Hey, girl.
I hate that we have to meet like this. It's been too long.
I know.
Where's my godsons? Are they in bed?
No, I'll FaceTime you right after.
Thank you. You guys, that's what she says to me. She says, if you do a Zoom, I'll let you see your godsons. But I like her relentlessness. She's got goals, and she's trying to get you guys wins. No, just kidding.
That is so funny. Okay, so I know we only got a little bit of your time.
Rachel, thank you for putting this together.
Thank you for doing it. What?
Yeah.
I'm just excited that it was actually Alice is the one who, well, you did just the money, and I was like, let's put the icing on the cake. Like, let's get Cammy.
Oh, and this is the exclusive group, right?
Yeah, it is. So these people, so the 400 it was the 18th or 19th. It was either the 18th or 19th of October. They were all in the 400 club. So instead of waiting until the end to close out 400 or waiting till all auto ships ran or whatever, so they had above, and I think actually the person who had the highest PBV was Demond, and I think he had like 800 PBV by the 19th PBV. So yeah, not GB but PBV. Yeah. So I know you have. Do you have the list of questions? Or you want to just go through it? I can ask. You don't have to look.
It says Rachel will Oh, I see it right here. I'm sorry. I misunderstood what she said. Okay.
No, so, I can ask them every time I'm here.
Well, you're getting the real raw responses because I thought I was like, yeah, I can go, you can surprise me with your questions. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
You're going to get the real, true, authentic responses that way. That's for sure.
So I actually had some questions that came in today, and I think we'll start there. So I'll start with the first question, and I'm like, again, guys, if you're able to come into the room, I really could care less if you're bonnet's on or whatever,
Listen, you guys, I am literally, I've been scrubbing it all day, so let's just scrub it together. Let's just be face to face. Let's be real, raw, and just be ourselves.
That's the only one I know of. I think Jasmine is actually out of the country, so I don't know if she'll be able to turn her video on.
Okay.
But, okay, so if there's one regret that you did when you started in this business, what is that, and how can I avoid the same mistake?
That is a great question, and there's more than one, but I would say the number one regret is when I got caught up in the comparison game and started questioning the things that I did that I knew were the right things to do. And for example, I'll just be very, very candid with you. When some of our social media influencers joined the company, I got very intimidated. Because I thought some of these people are moving so fast, I must be doing something wrong. And it really bothered me because I didn't want my team to lose faith in me. And honestly, I just think my motives were wrong. And, I liked being a hero for my team. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I like being there for you guys. That is something that makes me come alive when my feet hit the ground in the morning. And when I felt that I wouldn't have the credibility with my team anymore because this social media world was not my world, then I kind of dropped everything that was who Cammy was and made Cammy special to do these things that I thought I was missing the boat on. And all I did was get behind. I got frustrated. I stopped having fun. I took myself too seriously. And so that was one of my greatest regrets. And so once I realized this is not who I am and this is not how I build, and it's not that I don't use social. You guys, let me just be very clear. I do all the things because I believe we need to have our hands in a number of things. But what makes Cammy special is the building personal relationships and getting face to face. So whether that means I meet you at a grocery store, at an expo, or now currently a pop-up shop, a home party, or through a blitz, that's what makes people attracted to what I do because they fall in love with who I am. And the minute I stopped being who I was and tried to be who other people were, was the minute I started going in the wrong direction.
That's so good. You guys just drop, if you guys have stuff in the comments, like just talk, I promise you she's not gonna bite. So if you have responses, like or things that just really pop out when it comes to that? Okay, the next question was, with 2020 around the corner, what is put in place for the business that a Pentecost will always be a part of the business? Wait, Demond, what do you mean by that? And where do you see us in 20 years? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Ooh, good. How you doing, Cammie? How you
I'm
doing?
doing good.
Good to see you.
Nice to
So
see your face, not your
yes,
still shot.
I was driving, so I'm in the house now. So Cammie, I wanted to know, the question was, so in the future, since this is 2020, in the future, is there some provisions in place that a Pentecost will always be part of It Works?
I'll just be very honest with you. You guys should have seen it very clearly on the wall with the launch of Dr. Nassif. It might be the first time you've ever seen a launch take place that you saw generation 1 and generation 2 locked arms. This is a family company. And to me, here, I can speak for myself specifically here. You can hear this genuinely from my own mouth, but it's been a long time that I have been doing this business for my own goals. I feel like when I was in college and I was a missionary over in Mexico and I felt like God was calling me to the mission field, I was thinking, yeah, Mexico, here I come. And not a lot of people know this story. And that day they did an altar call and I was on a base in Tijuana, Mexico. And I felt like God was calling me to the mission field. So I walked up to the front and I'm like, yes, here I am. And I kid you not, it's one of the times in my life I felt like the Lord audibly said to me, sit down. And I was like, excuse me? Since when does the Lord tell someone who's all in for going in the mission field, no, thank you? And he didn't say no, thank you. He just said, not like this. He said to me, and I quote, you will be in the mission field. It just won't be here. It will be back home. And that's always kind of just like been something that rings in my ear. And so it's been a long time that I'm still in It Works because it's for me. It's not about me anymore. And what I realize is the legacy that we're building. And so my kids, they all bicker and fight about who's going to take over. They all bicker and fight about who's going to take over when Papa's, stepping down. So they're not even giving my sister, brother, or I an opportunity to step in. They're just stepping right in. And so, when we launched with Dr. Nassif, you saw pictures of all 3 of us kids with my dad and Dr. Nassif for a reason, because when my dad got sick, he sat us all down and he said, this has been your mom and my dream, but this does not have to be your dream. And without hesitation, all 3 of us said, It Works as our family. And so, Kinsey moved to Ireland. I moved to Florida and stepped in on the corporate side, which, by the way, was not my favorite thing to do. I love the field side of things. And that was a transition. It's definitely grown me a ton. And I'd be lying if I said it's all smooth and roses right now, because it's something every day. I go, really? I got free and I didn't have to have a boss or set hours, and now I'm back to having a boss and tons of hours, But then, and my brother went and traveled around with my brother and sister, with my mom and dad, to go through all his treatments and stuff. And then even today, you guys may or may not realize this, but I've had some major health issues. And so I've had to take a step back from some of the massive amount of corporate things I've had my hand in, and my brother has stepped into that side of things. And so I can take care of my health while I continue to connect with the field. And he's been that field voice at corporate and the liaison for me in my absence. So, when I say this is a family company, and as far as we see it, obviously we can make plans, but God directs our steps. As far as we see it, that's exactly what we're setting this up. It's a family-owned company.
It's good. I love that. It's good. Nobody's
never asked me that question, so there you go.
I've never. Yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you.
So, how often did you check in with your team members on a weekly basis?
100%. And especially my personally enrolled, until it got so massively big that I literally would set alarms in my phone, because here's the deal. You can't just wait for your people to call you. They're not. Some will, but those are the rare breed, right? And I tell everybody when they sign up, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And nothing made my ears hurt worse than when one of my personally enrolled got on stage and said, we call her the friendly neighborhood stalker. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't been the friendly neighborhood stalker for quite a long time, because I just couldn't keep up with the demand, So I literally had to put people in rotation. And so for a month, I might be a friendly stalker for a group that I was specifically, focusing my efforts on. But then, and so for a long time, it was all my personally enrolled. I called them weekly. I text them daily. I made sure I was up in their grill, and I had good relationships with their spouses and children also, because I can't tell you how many times I got a text from a spouse, and I can pretty much say I've gotten a text from every single spouse that I personally enrolled multiple times where they said, hey, hint, hint, so-and-so needs you today. And I'm so thankful and grateful for those relationships, because we're human and we don't always reach out and ask for help when we need it, or reach out and say we're having a bad day and I need somebody today. We just don't. And I think that's human nature, but it's also the enemy's ploy to isolate us so that he can influence us. And I believe you should never make a decision in the dark. What do I mean in the dark? In times of confusion or pain or frustration. You should never make a big decision in those times. You should only make big decisions in light and clarity. And if you don't have light and clarity, then you press pause and you don't make big decisions, because you're going to make the wrong decision, an emotional decision. And so, anyways, all that to say, connecting on a regular basis puts fires out before they even begin, while the spark is right there. It also builds relationships, not just because of the business, but because this is a relationship business. When you get the person right, the business works. And so that requires conversations, not just text messages or DMs or voice memos. And I am guilty of all of those things, you guys. It requires 3D conversations where you pick up the phone or you use FaceTime to have a conversation. So thankfully, because of technology, we absolutely can lean on voice memos for seasons and time frames, but they don't replace real, authentic relationships. They don't replace getting in a car or getting on a plane and going to the person and connecting with them face to face. They don't replace it. And so regularly, and don't be afraid to put parameters in place that allow you to not drop the ball. And what do I mean by that? Like, I literally, if it was one of, so for example, I made sure I had a private team call, Zoom, with my personally enrolled triples and above twice a month. And then when things got even busier, it was once a month, but it was once a month. My triples and above that I personally enrolled or were adopted knew they got me all to themselves. And it was a small group, more of a round table. And then I would pick one or two every month to actually call on the phone. But then the majority of my time was spent on newbies and emerging leaders, right? That's just the natural ebb and flow of the business. But you've got to set reminders and you've got to make a plan. I'm telling you, if you don't make a plan, someone will make that plan for you. And it's a reactive plan and not a proactive plan. And you will never hit your goals in a reactive space. You'll only hit them in a proactive space. You've got to tell your time where to go, make a plan and work the plan. No excuses. You can't say, well, this happened, this happened, this happened. Let me just tell you this right now. Things are going to happen to you, not just in your business life, but your personal life. It's not a matter of if, it's when and how often. And that's why I love the 6 list, because when your feet hit the floor in the morning, start with God, and then boom, you get to the number 1 priorities of what's on your list. And then you pick up your phone and you start seeing all the shit that hit the fan. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't wait, you don't pick up your phone and go, because sometimes the crap hitting the fan isn't just bad things, it's good things. It's like all of a sudden your harvest is coming in. Well, that's a really good thing. But if you don't do what you prioritized and deemed as the highest priority for that day, they don't get done. This business doesn't happen happenstance. It happens with intentionality. And that's how you reap big rewards for things. And so, yeah, I'll stop with that. I know we have more questions.
It's so good. It's so crazy. I actually low-key talked about that tonight on team meeting. Okay, well, I'm going to take the questions on here and then we'll move forward past that. It's so funny that you said that about the spouses, because that has happened so many times to me. Like, it happens all the time, like, for real, all the time.
Girl, Brian still messages me.
Oh, I'm sure he does. I'm sure. I'm grateful for it. That's fine, because they know that there are certain times where, especially when you're in those moments, it's like, because of the lies that you believe, you feel like what you're dealing with is not a big deal. Or it's the same thing I tell them, like, yeah, bother me, but it's like, I don't want to bother her with that, So certain stuff like that.
And sometimes you're in the thick of it so deep, you can't see the forest through the trees. And so it's not even a matter of you not asking for help, but you not even realizing you might need help. You know what I mean? It's just being such in the thick of it.
That's so true. Okay, so these two kind of go hand in hand. So I'm gonna tell you both of them. It says, how do I get over my fear for moving forward in my business? And then the other one is, how do I control disappointment?
How do I get over my fear of what?
Of moving forward in my business.
Well, how do you get over the fear? There's several directions we could go with this, but fear is an emotion. And if you wait till you feel like it, you're never going to feel like it. And so at some point you have to decide, are you going to let your feelings control you, or are you going to take control? And so some of you might be like, oh, that seems really, no, it's just the truth. And you could declare every single day that God did not give me a spirit of fear, but he gave me a spirit of power. He gave me a spirit of love and of sound mind. And so if you can claim that and speak that over, it will begin to become your reality. That's those affirmations, faith over fear. And that's speaking those things out loud. I would also say personal development, because fear is a place of just, I would say, lack of knowledge or lack of experience. And what I think what happens more times than not is our inactivity breeds fear. Activity breeds confidence. And so I think so much all the things that we're worried about that keep us frozen are actually not that bad. And when you do it, you go, I was like, and even, so sometimes if it really is fear, I'll write down everything I'm the most afraid of. So what if this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened? And after you actually write it down and look at it, you go, oh, it's not the worst thing that could ever happen. You know what I mean? So it's really understanding that those fears aren't as big of giants as you might think that they are. And then I would say, so I said, speaking out loud, the personal development, which will breed confidence, getting to events, which breed confidence, hearing the stories, which breeds confidence. It helps you identify with people having success. And then you too can have your own success. So, the reality is, point blank, you just got to get over it. I mean, that's what it is. Now, there are some practices you can do, but if you just sit around and wait till you feel like it, you will never feel like it. I hate to tell you that. And so, watch your inner circle. Are you around dream chasers? Are you around people that are frozen in fear? Look who you're surrounding yourself with. What are you saying about yourself? If you can't even fathom saying it out loud, then flip and write it on a sticky note and post it everywhere so you can at least read it. And when you read it, you say it out loud. And then if you haven't watched Crazy Faith 15, I believe it is, and and that's from Transformation Nation Church. I'm not even saying the beginning of it. I'm just saying get to the end where it talks about I am. And if you are feeling afraid, then say, I am strong. I am courageous. So you start speaking those affirmations over yourself. But that's a really good sermon I would listen to if I were you. Disappointment. Woo! Disappointment is a hard one. But you know what? I think we have disappointment on a regular basis. And to me, disappointment is just unmet expectations. And so maybe you need to lower your expectations. And I'm not saying lower your standards. I'm saying start small. Go for small wins. Oh my gosh, why are you doing that to me?
It's Brianne's fault.
What a distraction.
Sorry.
So I would check out that sermon, but then I would also say to you, start small, get smaller goals and celebrate the small wins. I think sometimes we come in and see, or we get to a place where we want that big win, but you got to realize you got to break that big win into small bite-sized goals so that you can celebrate wins throughout the process. Because nothing about what we do is easy, but it is simple. And if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you are going to reach that goal. I tell people all the time, you will get there as long as you don't quit. But I think some of us, disappointment creeps in when we don't celebrate enough of the small wins along the way.
I agree 100%. Okay, so I got 2 more questions.
Okay.
So what should be the game plan for finishing 2019 and starting 2020 off strong?
Well, I don't know how many of you are social builders, but I would say remain super, super consistent on social. Obviously, I would say posting things like what you're taking, what you're using, why, your life as you're building it. Just be consistent. Again, the day that somebody gets on social media that you're not posting is going to be the day they join with someone else. And so just be consistent, okay? And I wanted, anytime I met someone in person, I knew that chances are they'd go stalk me on social media. So that was my number one reason for being on social media, is I wanted them to know, number one, I was super serious. Like, people that are going to be like your super fast runners, they will not get into business. Typically, I know every now and again there's an outlier, but they typically will not join and get into business with someone they don't feel is serious. And serious doesn't mean you're super spammy and in their face. It just means you're consistent. It means you're having fun. It means you're using the product. It means you're just contagious and your energy is high about it, right? But that's consistency. And so keep telling your story, keep living the It Works lifestyle. That doesn't mean just you crushing goals every day. That means you're using the product and why you're using the product, and so on and so forth. But then I would say, I'd be booking pop-up shops through the end of the year, and I'd be booking them first of the year, because the top 3 New Year's resolutions every single year is health, weight loss, and making more money. And I would want to be everywhere I could be, to be right in front of people's face for the time where they're the most focused and the most motivated. I would want to be the one that they run into. And so obviously pop-up shops is a great way to continue to build your list. And I know I'm not talking to people that are just getting started and you're just like, no, I'm overwhelmed with my warm market alone. I'm not even thinking about my list. We know at this point that every day, one of the things we should be doing for our business is making new friends, right? Making new friends, and then continuing to cultivate those relationships. And so, I'd be planning pop-ups everywhere. Also, if you haven't already, do your dream boards now. Don't wait till January 1st. Make sure you have set your intention. Visualize where you're going, and because there's so much power in that. One other thing I was thinking is plan your downtime, but plan your work time. If you have kids, they're home on holiday. If you don't have kids, it's holiday. So plan your downtime, your fun time, but plan your work time and stick to the plan. Those are some of my high level thoughts, Rachel.
That's good. Your schedule is so important. What's the number one way to inspire my distributors to work?
You guys, I wish there was a secret password that I could tell you that would light your team on fire. And there's just not. But here's what I know. If you're constantly talking about your team not being on fire and your team is not motivated, they will stay not motivated. So number one, speak life over your team. One thing that drives me the most crazy, and I realize people call me because they're in a rut or they need some coaching or some mental breakthrough. So I get that. So I do give grace for that. But I also believe so much so that life and death is in the power of the tongue, that when somebody calls me to tell me they're stuck in a rut, but all they do is talk about being stuck in a rut and their team sucks, I'm like, and that's why you're stuck in a rut, And they may not use the word my team sucks, but they're just like, nobody's doing anything, our enrollments are down, they're frustrated with their check, whatever. Anyways, long story short, I'd be talking about what I want to see more of. I'd be focusing on who is doing the things that are working, and I want to see more of that. And so when it comes to motivating your team, I wish there was a magic thing. There isn't. All you can do is inspire them. All you can do is do the thing. So when people call me and say things like that, my first question is, okay, great. What have you done for your business today? How much of your step success have you filled out this month? It starts there, because the pace of the leader is always the pace of the pack. And you may say, my pace is fire, but my pack is not. And I would say to you, well, you keep firing, and I promise you the pack will follow. They may not be here today, but they will come. And so keep speaking life over the efforts that you're doing. I do think sometimes we got to talk about areas we need to redirect and try some new things if it's just not producing. But I also think you need to be speaking life over what you're doing. I did a podcast last year that talked about visualization. And it's just like when I was playing basketball, before I would go start the game, during my warm-ups, I literally would be warming up with intention, but then the minute I stood on the line for the Star Spangled Banner, I'd literally look at one of the stars. I always had the same star I looked at, and I would visualize the game. I'd visualize me bringing the ball down the court and executing the play. I'd visualize me making a great pass and the score, and it being a great assist for a good score. I visualize me literally, I don't even know, juking the person that was defending me and going by them and getting a score. You know, I visualize me knocking my free throws down on the free throw line. I visualize me taking the charge. I visualize me getting a good rebound and getting a good closeout. I visualize those things. Are you guys visualizing every aspect of your business from the minute you hand a blitz card to the follow-up call and the great response you're getting? Those are so important, and it starts there. But when your activity is where it needs to be, your team will follow suit. And then the way you speak about your team, the way you speak about your business is absolutely going to manifest itself.
Right, I just found it. So make sure y'all save that. That's the podcast she's talking about.
Oh, good.
Okay, so the last well, there's one more question, but I want you to end in the basis of, so this crew, well, the question is what keeps your momentum going daily? But what I want you to touch on is, okay, so like, for example, there's some people on here just beast on loyal customers every single month. Like, there's actually Esther who's up there. She's pregnant with twins. She's 9 months pregnant with twins. And she signed like 20 customers the past 3 months. Like, that's just what she does. But when it comes to, so they're good at signing customers. But when it comes to the business, and I tell them a lot of times, it's your belief. It's your belief. You believe you can help a customer, but you don't believe you can help a business partner. You're willing to ask them to be your customer, but you're fearful to ask them to join you in the business. I don't know if it's because you don't know if you can service them or what, but what advice can you give them about changing that belief that they have in the products to their belief in themselves to lead a team?
So I believe part of the reason you're signing lots of customers is because there is a product or products that you are just sold out about. And so you just have no problem, and with conviction and passion, you are sharing about those products. And I guarantee everybody you talk to, you don't leave the conversation without talking about the customer program. I guarantee it, because you're signing customers. Where you're not executing, and I'm going to use this word executing, is talking about the business. Why would you not talk about the business to every person you come in contact with? That's my number one goal, is to say, listen, if you think that you would love these products and you think you know a few people that would, why not do the business so you can use the products and get paid for it? Heck, you might decide you actually love it and you want to do more. I mean, the bottom line is there's a reason the Try It presentation that I did tonight, it wasn't just me saying, hey, I invite you to be a customer. It was like, listen, you can get involved with us one of two ways. I never leave a conversation without letting them know both ways. And I truly believe you're not being a good steward of what you've been given if you're not sharing both ways. Okay. And I really, quite frankly, when I look at anybody's face, I see distributor. Because in my mind, I think, why wouldn't every single person on this planet do it? Even if they just simply wanted to make enough to pay for their own habit. Why wouldn't they do it? Everybody needs a tax write-off. So why wouldn't they do it? What if they have a little fun and they make a little money? So everybody should do it. What if they have a little fun and it starts steamrolling and they make a whole lot of money? Everybody should do it. Do you see what I'm saying there? Is everybody deserves to hear about it. They may not decide to do it, but you know what? That's okay, because then they can be your customer. We go back to the customer thing. But they deserve to hear about the business. And if you're not sharing with it, shame on you. And it really does come down to belief. So sometimes when your belief isn't there, you really just have to make a decision that, okay, I hear her. I do talk about the customer program with every single person I talk to about it works. But I need to have a shift and know that I'm going to not just say, you can be, if they are interested in the product and your comfort level is talking about the product, then when they say, well, how much is it? You can say, well, you know what? There's two ways you can get it. You can always talk about both. And I would, without a shadow of doubt, I would say, make the commitment when you get off this call tonight that you will no longer ever talk to anybody that you don't at least say There's two paths. You can become a customer, you can become a distributor. Why would you be a distributor? Give them a few perks. And if you're just not ready to do the business yet, and I always say that, write that down. You can steal it. It's not my verbiage. I'm sure I stole it from somebody else. I just adopted it. If you're not ready to do the business yet, then let's go ahead and get you on the product so you can start falling in love with them.
That's awesome. Does anybody else have anything else? That was good. I hope you guys are listening. I will say this, Alice, did you have anything? So I know, just being transparent in this moment, like, Cammie's somebody who experienced a divorce and building business and making a lot of money and going through that. No, can you promote by just signing loyal customers? Because I'm really picky when it comes to student TV. Okay, Adriana, we'll talk about that one. we gonna talk about that when we get off here. I got you. Anybody else got anything else?
Yes, I actually still haven't packed for Costa Rica. So at some point in my life, I'm going to have to do that.
Oh, you should probably do that. How did you get through divorce and build your business?
Here's the thing. How many times, if you had a job and went through a divorce, you'd still have to go to your job. And here's what I found. Thank God for It Works, because my divorce took me down a black hole. And if It Works wouldn't have been there, I would have gone deeper into that hole. But It Works gave me something positive to pour myself into. And it gave me a great network of people to surround me with love and kindness. So when I had a bad day, at least I was around people who really cared about me and wanted to help me in that bad day. So, I think sometimes it's just a perspective shift. You can think, life can't go on, or you can think of how can this help my life go on, or how can it make this unfortunate thing bearable? Because again, if you had a job, just because you get a divorce, your boss isn't going to say, you know what, I'm really sorry you're going through a divorce. Why don't you go on vacation for the next 2 months or 6 months or a year? And building your business is going to build you a residual income that at least allows you, when you're having a bad day, that you can take time to be sad. You can take time to feel the emotions. You can take time to get the help that you need. And so I would just say, I wish that I could tell you guys that life is full of rainbows and roses, but it's just not. And if it's not a divorce, it's a miscarriage. If it's not a miscarriage, it's a diagnosis. If it's not that, it's something. We all are going through many, many things. It's how we decide to respond to what's going on in our life that's what makes the difference of where we're at.
She might need to reach out, but she said she's scared of making too much with It Works and being stuck paying him alimony.
Oh, girl, listen. Why would you think so broke-minded? If I told you the amount of alimony I pay, you would be shocked. But my girlfriend said to me, and I'm so thankful she said this to me, she's like, why are you thinking about that? You bought your freedom, girl. Now get on with it. And I was like, yes, I did. So, all we can do is do the right thing and trust God with the rest.
Amen. Okay. Well, thank you. You know what? You want to do us the honor of just praying, and then we'll hop off?
I would, yes. Zaire, I love you, buddy. I love you, buddy. Hi. You're so handsome. Yes, look how awake you are. You're getting big, too. I love you. All right, here we go. I'm going to pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this time that we could spend together. I know that each one of us has heard some things tonight that really will make an impact, not just on us personally, but professionally as well. And so, God, I pray that the words that were spoken tonight, that the right words are deeply planted, and the words that are not something that is necessary, just it falls to the ground and it doesn't stick in any way, shape, or form. But God, we know that you have plans and purposes for every person on this call. You have you're going to do exceedingly and abundantly more than we can ask or imagine, God, in each of our lives, in each of our businesses. And we thank you for how It Works plays a role in our life professionally, but has such a great impact personally as well, and spiritually. So Lord, I just claim your favor and your abundance for this team, specifically for Rachel and Adriana, Alice, Angela, Demonser, Esther and Jasmine. I pray, God, that you would just anoint the work of their hands. And I pray that that favor would just be flowing from each and every one of them. We know your favor is what we cannot do apart from you. Thank you, God, for all that you're going to do. 2020 is going to be amazing, and we're claiming that now. We thank you for the strength, the confidence. By the way, thank you for this group of distributor closing machines. Lord, we know that you've given us a great gift, and we want to share that gift with others. We love you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, can you take a picture real quick?
Yes.
The entire screen so everybody can get their picture.
For whatever reason, on mine, it says.
Oh, I have you pinned. Hold on.